A couple is walking around a seemingly normal town at night, and our protagonist, Akatsuki Kojou, who seems to be a normal guy, walks by them, but some flashing memories cause his bloodlust to rise up, telling us that our guy is no ordinary person, but a vampire. Kojou visits his friends the next day after school, and walks back home when he feels like someone is following him. Kojou confronts the girl, who immediately refers to him as the fourth progenitor, a vampire legend, leading Kojou to speak in Italian in his attempt to escape the scene. The girl follows him outside and is bothered by two adults who turn out to be vampires as well. The girl is also revealed to be an attack mage and is about to almost kill the vampires before Kojou stops her magic spear with his bare hands. The girl leaves after dropping her wallet, and the town is revealed to be the demonic district of Itogami Island, a man-made island specifically designed for non-human species to exist with humanity. The girl's name is Yukina, a transfer student in Kojou's high school. Kojou meets her at the school again before she joins him for lunch later that day. Kojou explains how he had no part in becoming a vampire, and Yukina somehow believes him really easily, revealing that she was sent by the Lion King organization to kill the fourth progenitor if he becomes a threat. Yukina leaves, and some memories reveal how Kojou was passed on to the powers of the fourth progenitor in a devastated setting by an unknown woman. A flashback shows how Yukina was assigned as the observer of Kojou and was rewarded with the magical spear Sekaro as a parting gift. Kojou is leaving his apartment complex when he finds Yukina standing outside, and it turns out that she had moved into the next apartment to Kojou's to keep a better eye on him. Kojou visits his teacher at school, Natsuki, who is aware of Kojou being the fourth progenitor. She looks like a middle schooler and gets angry at Kojou for being informal with her. Kojou asks her about the Lion King organization, and Natsuki reveals that this organization is basically Kojou's enemy, created with the sole purpose of killing the fourth progenitor. Despite the warning, Kojou gets rather close with Yukina unusually quickly, and helps her with some shopping. Yukina had already befriended Kojou's sister and joined him later at night after he left his place. The two get interrupted by Natsuki while playing arcade, and manage to run away after a huge explosion occurs at a distance. Yukina leaves to check the situation out, and comes across a phoenix familiar that gets eaten whole by a homunculus summon. The person behind the blast turns out to be Rudolf Eustack, a European exorcist, and Yukina confronts him, ending up getting cornered by Rudolf and his homunculus, Astarte. Yukina is about to lose the battle when Kojou arrives at the fight and ends up taking a lot of damage before unleashing a deadly lightning attack. The next day arrives with the news of the destruction of the site where our guys fought at. It is revealed that Kojou's lightning attack had caused damage worth 50 billion yen, and Yukina mocks him about paying the debt in 500 years, remarking that Kojou is immortal. At school, Kojou is in a little pinch with Asagi after Natsuki reveals that she saw him with Yukina last night, calling the two to his office to discuss something important. She reveals about 6 similar incidents that have happened in the past 2 months, and warns the two since they are in danger now after what happened last night. The two leave her office and Yukina explains further about Eustack and the homunculus to Kojou. She shares further intel on the guy with Kojou, revealing that he is a combat decon of Lotharingia, in short, a lot of trouble. Kojou requests Asagi for help after he pissed her off earlier, and she uses her hacking skills to track down factories on Itogami Island, owned by the country of Lotharingia. They find a factory named Shelt Pharmaceuticals, and Kojou takes Yukina along with him to investigate the matter further. They encounter Astarte in the factory, and Kojou gets angry at Eustack after realizing that he has been planting familiars in homunculi, making their lifespans shorter just to use them as tools. Kojou goes on to attack Eustack in rage, but neither he nor Yukina could dominate the battle. Yukina is about to be killed by Eustack's axe when Kojou jumps in front of her, getting his own head cut off. Eustack leaves the two, sparring Yukina, and takes Astarte with him to follow along with his plan. While all this was going on, Asagi was at a facility securing intel about what actually is going on with Eustack. Back at the factory, Kojou wakes up on Yukina's lap, and she reveals how he regenerated himself back right in front of her. The conversation still goes on when Kojou receives a call from Asagi about the situation going on at the facility, and how Eustack has invaded it, advancing to the core of the magical island's foundation. Kojou plans to go after Ustake before things get more messed up, and receives blood from Yukina to gain full control of his familiar, making him a full-fledged vampire. Ustake finally invaded the Foundation, and his plan is revealed to be about removing the core of the island, causing it to run out of power, which will result in many deaths. He is about to proceed on the final step of his plan when Kojou arrives with his new controlled power and, along with Yukina's help, puts a stop to Ustake's plan, saving the island from a miserable state. Kojou lets Astarte live, since she was innocent after all, and succeeds in making Yukina jealous again for some reason. Motoki's conversation with a crow, presumably Natsuki's, revealed that this was all part of a plan to help the fourth progenitor reach his true potential. Yukina is about to leave assuming that her work is done, but the arrival of her repaired spear convinces her that she needs to stay a little longer. The Black Death Emperor faction started to operate in the city after Kojou dealt with Ustake, and Natsuki took on the job of handling them. She turns out to be quite a skilled attack mage, and restrains the members of the faction for further interrogation before leaving the scene to prepare for her class tomorrow. A summer sports festival arrives at the school, and Kojou gets matched up with Asagi in badminton, for obvious reasons, by their mutual friends. Natsuki investigates the faction from earlier, while having Astarte working for her, and comes to know about the faction being after the ancient weapon, Nalakuvera. The playtime arrives, and while Kojou is out to cool down, he gets attacked by two lion familiars. He hesitates about using his own familiar since that might hurt the school, and Yukina saves the day by defeating the monsters easily. It turns out that the lions were only there to give an invitation to Kojou for a yacht trip, and Kojou decides to attend the party, taking Yukina with him. The two arrive at the party, and since life is not so simple for our legendary vampire, the two get attacked by a familiar that is easily fended off by Kojou. The first progenitor, Ardial, welcomes the two as he is interested in the fourth progenitor quite a lot. The little chat with Ardial gets interrupted by a woman named Sayaka, who attacks Kojou by throwing a dagger out of nowhere, claiming that she is Yukina's old friend and will not tolerate anyone who causes any pain to her. Sayaka declares her hate towards men, especially Kojou, clearly before Ardial puts our guy in an even more problematic situation when he claims that he is interested in him, romantically this time. Ardial lays off the jokes and reveals the activity of a terrorist from the Black Death faction named Christoph Gardos, indirectly telling Kojou to deal with him since Gardos' movement might lead Ardial's familiars to destroy the whole Itogami island in rage. Yukina offers to deal with the matter herself and agrees to get rid of Gardos with Kojou. While all this was going on, Asagi received a puzzle from an anonymous source while she was on a call with Motoki about Kojou's relationship. Asagi took the challenge and deciphered the whole puzzle, leading to the word Nalakuvera as the final answer. The next day at school, Kojou visits Natsuki at her office alongside Yukina, learning that Astarte is now working as Natsuki's maid, and asks about Gardos and his terrorist faction. Natsuki explains about Ardial and Gardos following up with the ancient weapon, Nalakuvera, claiming that there's no reason to worry since the Nalakuvera was stolen a long time ago. Kojou proceeds to request Asagi for some intel about the Nalakuvera, and the two sneak into the student council room, finding out that Nalakuvera is a robotic biological weapon. Kojou is later having a conversation with Asagi on the rooftop of the school, but our protagonist's bad luck peaks again when Sayaka sees the two together, getting mad at Kojou for flirting with girls while fooling around with Yukina. Asagi leaves the rooftop, and Sayaka attacks Kojou with no intention to reason with him. She manages to damage Kojou, but the wound makes Kojou instinctively release his vampire power. The situation gets even worse for the progenitor when Asagi finds out about Kojou's reality. Kojou's power surges, and Asagi, who tries to get close after getting worried about Sayaka's sword, ends up getting pushed back from the surge, being injured and unconscious. Before Kojou's power could get dangerously out of control, Yukina arrives at the rooftop and helps in controlling the power surge. She scolds Sayaka and Kojou and orders them to reflect on their actions on the rooftop while she takes Asagi to the infirmary. Sayaka and Kojou have a little conversation, and Sayaka reveals that both she and Yukina are orphans. The two warm up to each other a little afterwards. Asagi wakes up in the infirmary and is confronting Yukina about her relationship with Kojou before terrorists from the Black Death faction infiltrate the building led by Gardos himself. Gardos shoots down Astarde and kidnaps the rest of the 3 girls before Kojou and Sayaka could arrive, revealing that he needs Asagi to decipher something for him. Motoki uses his power and is trying to stop the car before they take the girls away, but is stopped by Ardiel, who supposedly has a thing for situations like these. Gardos asks Asagi to decipher command manuals for the Nalakuera, while Kojou and Sayaka arrive on the smaller island the facility is at. They meet Natsuki, who is already on the island, and later, Ardiel joins them, declaring to have some fun with the Nalakuera himself. Kojou intervenes and asks Ardiel to let him handle the situation instead. All the other girls get to their jobs while Kojou charges towards the ancient relic alone. The Nalakuera turns out to be stronger than Kojou initially thought, and Sayaka joins in on the battle only to realize that the Nalakuera has a strong magic barrier, nullifying her attack. The Nalakuera is about to flee, but Kojou uses his familiar to slam the robot down, ending up falling to the bottom of the facility himself alongside Sayaka. Asagi goes all out on deciphering the command system of the relic, whereas Yukina, who was on her own investigation, comes across Gardos' real plan of destruction, which was using a full army of multiple Nalakuera clones to wreak havoc on Itogami Island. Gardos takes on his original form, and Yukina gets into a battle with him and manages to cut his arm off, but gets interfered by more terrorists and controlled Nalakuera before she could finish him off. Kojou, on the other hand, gets close to Sayaka, and she offers her blood to him, allowing him to unlock the power of his second familiar. Kojou gets out of the base of the facility with the new power and joins the fight, where a team effort helps Yukina slip into the secret code that Asagi found while deciphering to finally destroy the Nalakuera successfully, saving the day. Later, an airship is under attack by a mysterious woman and her partner, while Itogami Island is in a peaceful state for the time being. Kojou walks to school with Yukina as usual, and they exchange words as Kojou reveals that Sayaka has been calling him regularly recently. Kojou is in some woman trouble when he gets invited by Asagi to a room after school, so no women were around Kojou, and later secures a date with Kojou after the two wear fancy dresses in the art room. Yukina, who was watching the whole thing, confronts Kojou about the matter, and the two witness Kojou's sister receiving a letter on the school grounds leading the 4th progenitor to stalk her sister. Talk about priorities. Sayaka calls Kojou in the middle of this at night, telling him about her arrival on the island as a VIP bodyguard before an explosion occurs nearby that was caused by some sort of demonic fight between masked humanoids. Kojou comes across Nagisa's classmate, Canon, who takes him along to some church ruins, revealing that she secures wildcats there. Motoki meets up with Natsuki to talk about the victim of the recent demonic fight, revealing that the victim had her organs missing. Ardiel arrives at the place and adds to their information, alerting them about threats to the city while warning Natsuki to keep Kojou out of this matter, since it would be too much for him. Kojou is at school helping with some stray cats when he is approached by Natsuki, who asks him to accompany her the following night. Kojou attends a festival with Natsuki and Astarde, having Miss Observer alongside him as always. It is revealed that despite Ardiel's request, Natsuki had told Kojou about the whole situation, and she planned to interfere with the upcoming fight between the masked humanoids that have been causing blasts recently in the city by using fireworks as a cover. The fireworks starts, and the group teleports to the fight at the tower nearby. Natsuki tries to stop the humanoids with her chains, but the humanoids turned out to be strong enough to even withstand a familiar attack by Kojou. Kojou is about to be attacked by the dark-haired girl when the other one saves him and tries to thrash her. The light-haired humanoid loses her mask, and she is revealed to be Canon, who leaves the scene after drinking the blood of the other humanoid to make herself stronger. Kojou arrives with Yukina at Maguscraft, a company owned by Canon's father, to get intel about the matter, and they meet the secretary Beatrice, who sends them to a nearby island owned by Maguscraft as well. This trip turned out to be a trap, as anyone other than Kojou could have expected, and the pilot left the two on a deserted island to die. Sayaka arrives at the same church ruins to investigate Canon Kanase and comes across Motoki, who offers to help her find Kojou and Yukina on the condition of keeping his identity secret. Things get troublesome for Motoki after Asagi arrives at the location as well, and the two women get into an expected argument after the love of the 4th progenitor. I'm amazed by these hilarious interactions every time. Moving on. Kojou and Yukina find some supplies to wait at the island for help to arrive, while Asagi shows her skills and locates the research island Kojou is on, impressing Sayaka before the ladies start arguing again, this time to poor Motoki's dismay. On the island, Kojou and Yukina's peaceful life seems to be not so long-lasting when the island gets invaded by a hovercraft. A squad of robotic soldiers approaches them and Kojou is forced to fight the tough enemies. Just when Kojou and Yukina seem to be in quite a lot of trouble, a silver-haired girl who looks like a mature Canon helps them kill the soldiers. She remarks that they must be after her on the island before the second wave of the enemies arrives, and the group gets to work where Kojou uses his familiar power to clear the enemies out successfully. The girl reveals her name to be La Folia Reavine, a princess, and we are introduced to Canon's adoptive father who is developing Canon to be stronger as a fake angel. La Folia explains things a little to the other two, and just when Kojou gets that Canon is an artificial angel, her father Kensei arrives at the island, waving a flag for a truce. Kensei's plans for Canon make Kojou pissed at the absurdity, and the group is forced to face Canon and her angel powers alongside Beatrice and Lo, who were the ones involved with the airship invasion earlier. Canon ends up hurting Kojou, which makes her mental state wobble, causing her to roll up in an ice barrier from the aftershock. Sayaka takes control of the Magus-craft container ship nearby with Natsuki, and is worried about the idiotic progenitor as Akatsuki Kojou's chaotic life continues on his way to becoming the real legendary vampire.